I'm working on a project which is trying to adopt an approach to certify under the FSC a landscape of small timber growers that are living in a way that we feel is extremely sustainable and in harmony with the elements. And we think that the biggest issue here is the fact that they can't get over some of the bureaucratic hurdles to achieve certification. Ultimately, this could lead to them not being able to access timber markets or being excluded from certain timber markets which they're currently supplying timber to. So that's the simple side of the project. The real project is about extension and trying to improve people's livelihoods with the timber resource as a base.
The impact of labour laws and taxation and so on becomes evident, but they need to be compliant with the law. And this actually is the biggest challenge of the lot. You can only do that from a practical approach on the ground. You can't go and tell them, look, this is going to be good for the world. The people in Durban or Johannesburg want paper that's made from wood that doesn't really mean a lot to them. It's being able to sell the wood, and to us it's being able to accept the wood as having come from an environment that was looked after, and this is what we try and get across to them.
Major problem with registering registered with FSC, I think it's a Working Condition Act that they putting under us, because some other times there's fees that they are looking for us to pay. Some other the growers haven't got much money, because we have to understand that Ozwathini only the smaller growers are here. Some they've got the small places to plant. If ever we can get a lot of places to plant, that will be not a major problem, because we will get the enough income.
It's practical. These are practical people. They can handle the practical factors of their lives and of their work, and they can learn how to do it from all sorts of sources and do it effectively. But if it means, if the compliance with the legal side means that they actually haven't got the money to carry on with doing what they did do, it's very difficult for them.
I think that is the one and the good idea that we have to. By myself, I think every person or who hired some people have to register, because firstly for us as the farmers, we've got that 18 rand extra that will help us to increase our income firstly. Then it is helping us, because if anybody get injured, we won't have any problem, because if ever somebody due to the information that I've got, so if ever somebody injured any labor, we can be arrested due to that. But if ever we are registered, if ever we need to pay that particular person, I think it will be not much a difficult thing to do.
If there's very little evidence of change in a system, then the monitoring needs to be much less frequent. And what we've done here, using simple technology available on the internet such as Google Earth, we've looked at images over the last 15 years, and this indicates that there's been very little change in this landscape over the last 15 years. We've done this by looking at the balance of different land uses. And in this particular place, the land uses would be timber, formal timber plantations, alien plant infestations or alien plant groups that aren't managed, indigenous forests, vegetable gardens, homesteads, and natural grasslands. And looking at the balance of those different land uses, we've seen very little change over the last 15 years. And our argument is that if things aren't changing from that perspective, then a monitoring regime needs to be very infrequent. the other thing to note about that description that I've just given is that those land uses are in amazingly equal balance in this landscape, so that there's the ecological infrastructure supplied by the grasslands, wetlands and forest patches is relatively intact and abundant in this landscape. So that, and the other thing to note in that respect is that people's land uses on very small parcels of land, so that if any poor or incorrect management on a single parcel of land doesn't have much impact over the entire landscape. In short, what we've done is we've examined the landscape values and we've tried to look at what influence the management of the timber resource has on the landscape values. And using that as a basis, we're finding that there's very little impact indeed. And so monitoring intensity and the number of indicators required is very low. So we can develop a simplified checklist with very few indicators, which actually catches the essence of what we're trying to measure here at Ozwathini.
The product that I made per year, normally it's 1,200 tons of wattle and 900 tons of gum, the pile wood. Hired 34 people that we've got working under us. So we are working only at Ozwathini, that's the place that we are working at. We take that wood that we're cutting off when we are doing the thinning and sell it as the building poles. And some of it, if ever there are some reject timbers, we'll sell it as a firewood or either the fencing poles. So people here at the community, they buy the timbers from us for the building poles and fencing. Some they are buying the firewood.
Water security in this area is very important because people don't have a municipal supply in many instances. Although there's a plan to put one in place, it hasn't really reached the taps yet to the full extent. So there's many people require water. They have to go to a local source. They have to go to local springs, or some people are actually taking pipes right up to the mountainside and putting it in water supplies high up in the mountains. So they're very aware of the importance of keeping their water areas clean and free of alien species which could use that water and be a competing water user. So it's a very important in this area. But one thing that would change drastically is if this area fell under a large area of commercial timber and people planted up some of these grasslands at the top here, we would have a serious problem. The springs would dry up. This is one of the incredibly important water recharge areas in the area. And the springs would dry up, and feeding of the major rivers around here, like the Suze River that we can see down in the valley there, would really have a big impact on water.
The effect of water at Ozwathini by the plantation. If ever you're planting in the wrong places, so toward the springs or toward the water, that place is drying up. So we, the UCL provide us by the mentor who called Bongani Ndlovu. So he assists people to plant in the proper way and in the proper place.
The smallholders that I work with, I'd like to see them improving their silviculture so that they can grow more timber, bigger tonnages on the same land, because at the moment what we've got is land that doesn't produce the best it can. And if they can increase the productivity of their land, and in some instances maybe get a bit more land, then they'll make a better living. And whatever one says about paper use and that sort of thing, trying to cut down on paper, paper makes a living for a great number of people. And these people are happy growing timber. I just would like to see them grow better timber. And most of them haven't got access to more land. So if we can teach them to grow better timber, encourage them to practice better forestry practices, then we'll have achieved something.
my wish is to have got a lot of places to plant, because some of the families, some of the growers just take all the income to their expenses, so they don't re-establish. If ever we can have the funding or the loans from outside, or either from the companies who buy our timbers, and help us to re-establish our plantation. Yeah.
If you talk about an ideal future in this place, I think there's a lot that we could learn from this place and adapt to the land uses outside. For example, if we look at the extreme opposite, is a monoculture across a large area, high production system, exporting their products to a country outside and employing as little people as possible by using machinery to do all the work. That's the opposite extreme to what we're seeing here. In between there somewhere are private farmers who are employing reasonably large contingent of people and are using fairly sophisticated production systems, but are mixing their crops as far as possible and putting crops that suit the different land types. In this area we've gone to the extreme where we've got very high, very low levels of mechanization, very high local employment, very high local product use, and a huge diversity of crops which really match people's needs. Very low transaction costs for the usage of products. In other words, people use products locally. So I think we've got to try and use these lessons and try and embed them in high production systems to see what they can learn from this pattern of land use. The benefits and resilience that you can find from diversifying crops. The importance of employing local people and using the crops and products as much as possible, local beneficiation and local usage. And I think if we can take those lessons from a landscape like this, it could lead to a better future, better outcomes.